Good evening. It is now 7 o'clock, and Happy New Year to everyone. This is the Tuesday, January 7th, City of Ormond Beach, Florida City Commission meeting. We are in the Commission chambers, and this is the second meeting of the new year. We had our first meeting, which was a workshop earlier, and I'm going to call the meeting to order tonight. I hope you felt welcomed by our Leisure Services Director, Robert Carolyn, and Airport Manager, Stephen Licklider, who are our greeters. I'd like to introduce the folks who are sitting up in front of you. To my right, your left, Recording Secretary Cassidy Ritz, City Clerk Colby Salento, City Commissioner from Zone 1, Dwight Selby, our Deputy Mayor and Zone 2 Commissioner, Troy Kent. To my left and your right, Commissioner Susan Persis from Zone 3. From Zone 4, we have Commissioner Rob Littleton, then City Manager Joyce Shanahan, Assistant City Manager Claire Whitley, City Attorney Randy Hayes, and for those of you listening online, I'm Mayor Bill Partington. If you would at this time, please silence your cell phones and rise for the invocation given by Pastor Kyle Kwiatkowski from the Blueprint Community Church. That'll be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pray with me. Lord Jesus, we thank you for this opportunity, God, to honor you through governing wisely and well. And God, as people come together to hear and lift up the needs, God, as we talk about human trafficking today, and Lord, all of the important issues going on. God, I pray that you would give Bill wisdom as the mayor, as he leads, and Lord, for all of the commissioners here as we all work together, Lord, in one country and one people. God, we ask you to bless this time, give energy, give excitement to hard decisions, but also, Lord, unity in making those decisions together. I pray that we would come to a consensus in these things, God, that we would consider everything. And, Lord, in your name we pray all of this to be done well and to your glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I can have Captain Roos and our victim advocate, Evelyn Rabastini, come up. Commissioner Persis and I had the opportunity on Saturday to attend a lunch and tea regarding human trafficking, and January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month. The statistics regarding human trafficking are shocking. Let you face it towards the audience. And I'm going to read our proclamation declaring January as Human Trafficking Awareness Month in Ormond Beach. Whereas human trafficking is the recruitment, harboring, transportation, provision, or obtaining of a person for labor or services through the use of force, fraud, or coercion for the purpose of forced labor or sexual servitude. And whereas human trafficking is a $32 billion a year global criminal enterprise and is a crime as well as a civil and human rights violation. An estimated 25 million people are currently victims of human trafficking for both sex and labor. And whereas human traffickers prey on their victims by promising a life of hope and greater opportunity while delivering only enslavement. Instead of delivering people to better lives, traffickers unjustifiably profit from the labor and toil of their victims, who they force, through violence and intimidation, to work in brothels and factories, on farms and fishing vessels, in private homes, and in countless industries. And whereas Ormond Beach, Florida is a vibrant city home to over 42,800 residents and host to over 5 million guests who have the right to hope, freedom, economic security, safety, and the pursuit of happiness. And whereas January is National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month, we commit ourselves to eradicating the evil of enslavement. Human trafficking is a modern form of the oldest and most barbaric type of exploitation, and we proclaim it has no place in our world, our great nation, or our city. This month, we do not simply reflect on this appalling reality. We also pledge to do all in our power to end the horrific practice of human trafficking that plagues innocent victims not only around the world, but in our nation and communities. And whereas more awareness and education is crucial to eradicating human trafficking in our communities, state, and nation, and Human Trafficking Awareness Day is observed on January 11th in municipalities across the country in order to educate the public and raise awareness about human trafficking. And the City of Ormond Beach has a strong commitment to social justice. Now, therefore, I, Bill Partington, Mayor of the City of Ormond Beach, Florida, do hereby proclaim January 2020 as Human Trafficking Awareness Month in the City of Ormond Beach, and urge our residents, agencies, and champions to support efforts and take action to end human trafficking. Thank you all for being here. We talked at the luncheon, we had a couple survivors actually of human trafficking who are people just like you and I who were caught up into a world where they ended up being trafficked. You wouldn't think it could happen. Our area being a place where people come for spring break, a place where people come a couple times a year for races, there's a lot of opportunity for people to be caught up in this situation. And I mean, just recently in the last couple of weeks, we had an attempted kidnapping near our city, not in our city, but that person could have ended up in a human trafficking situation. So the awareness is important. That's why we stress it. And I want to thank our PD for being here tonight to accept this proclamation. Did you have any additional?
I just want to signify that I'm wearing black all this week, and I'm wearing my little pin that signifies the Little Black Dress Initiative, which talks about and educates women on this is what little bit a human trafficking victim has when they're recovered, when they're picked up and then given hope and taken care of. So I'll wear this all week, and then on the walk on Saturday, there's a walk on January 11th at 9 o'clock in all 4 counties. This is Zuma Saul. She is right here in Ormond Beach, St. Vincent de Paul.
We work together.
And we're both on the Human Trafficking Task Force.
Thank you for that. We want to make sure everyone gets a chance to speak. All right, we'll move to audience remarks. We'll hear from those of you who have filled out a card to speak on any item which is not on the printed agenda. And tonight we'll start with Linda Williams.
I hate it when you start with me. So good to see y'all, and appreciate what you're doing and the meeting. Just prior, I was a little bit panicked because I thought you were making a decision tonight. And so I'll just read what I sent you, some of you in an email. Couldn't quite get it together. So resiliency, sustainability, these are the key words surfacing in our Smart Growth series in civil discourse. And I'd just like to suggest that the meeting we just attended tonight be a starting place for a number of forums with an approach to making decisions regarding the church property and other city property based not only on economics, livability, or environmental concerns, but in addition to resiliency and sustainability issues. There has been talk about different use for the library property and moving the police station to higher ground. These may all be good ideas, so I think we need to explore that in terms of resiliency and see what we can base our decision on in relation to that. I'm hoping that experts on resiliency and sustainability can be consulted as a part of the Explorer that we started tonight. And we could start by consulting with Jennifer Rupert of the East Central Florida Regional Planning Council and Julia Naishwit, the state's new Chief of Resilience Officer, the first person to occupy that position appointed by Governor Ron DeSantis. I think it's difficult to imagine why this is such an important issue if we don't explore it and find out what's going on. Naishwit is assigned the task of preparing Florida for the environmental, physical, and economic impacts of sea level rise. And I'm willing to use civil discourse as the forum to get the public comments and have maybe these two ladies there to give us some facts and stuff. So I want this to really be a community project, that we get enough input that the community feels like this is their project and that they can really be a part of it. So I will devote the next few times of civil discourse, the fourth Monday of next 2 months, to this. And if you would like for me to, we advertise and everything, if you would like for that to be the public forum, I'd be happy to do that with civil discourse. Okay?
Thank you.
And, of course, you got an email from Katie Tripp about the vulnerability of city properties and relocating critical infrastructure based on, there's a director of coastal environmental resiliency in an effort to make this a key issue. So hopefully we can follow suit and start bringing that into all of our plans. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Marianne Sewell.
Hi, I'm Marion Sewell, and I live at 38 Lincoln, right next to the church. And we've seen a lot of changes, of course, because my parents built our house in 1955. So we've seen, a lot of churches being changed. And we walk by the church every day. Of course, we have so many memories because that's where we used to go. But so many of the parishioners have all passed away. So that, left, hardly anybody left at the church. So that had to be a wise decision to sell. So I don't know what the answer would be. I know it's quite a dilemma to know what you would do, but I would be in favor of whatever you choose.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Jim Schultz.
Jim Schultz, 117 Harvard Drive. Just an update on the fluoridation lawsuit against Toxic Substance Control Act, EPA. There is going to be a trial. The EPA lost their fifth complaint on this. They tried to get an adjournment, and they lost again. So there will be a trial in April to see if they're going to consider it a toxic substance. I'm going to start off with Martin Luther King said a quote, "Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter." I'm going to reflect upon a very nasty experiment. 1932, the Tuskegee experiment started with syphilis study. There were 600 people in the study. 399 had syphilis. There were 200 controls. All of them, every single one was a black person. Most sharecroppers. Most had never been to a doctor. And it was offered as a benefit that they were going to get treatment for bad blood, whatever that meant. They never received any treatment whatsoever. It was 100% placebo, aspirin at most. Even after there was a very good treatment of penicillin, they were still kept totally in the dark. In the 60s, what actually happened, 1965, there was an internal brouhaha because somebody out of California discovered that this experiment was going on and just thought it was horrifically macabre. And they reviewed it, and they decided, no, we'll wait until they all die because they wanted to get autopsies on all of them so that the experiment would be valid. Okay. Well, anyways, in 72, an Associated Press story ran, and it was immediately halted, and all of the survivors and the heirs shared in a $10 million settlement. But, well, there are other equivalent things. Minnesota coronary study, 9,423 people. They studied them for 5 years. They determined that corn oil reduced cholesterol levels. What they didn't tell them was it increased heart attacks according to the study.
Thank you, Jim. Jim Cameron.
Good evening. I'm Jim Cameron, Senior Vice President, Government Relations, Daytona Regional Chamber, and I believe you have a copy of our legislative priorities for the upcoming session, which starts next week. And looking forward to having some of y'all come up there and join us next week for Volusia Days at the Capitol. And just wanted to say we do have appointments with, we're going to start off with at the Florida League of Cities office, and we do have a meeting set up for city people and some other city officials around the county with their lobbyists up there talking about city-related type issues and all. Then we have numerous speakers that are going to be joining us for presentations, though. We looking to meet with the Attorney General, the state CFO, Jimmy Petronas, also Enterprise Florida President Jamal Sowell, Visit Florida President Dana Young, and one, and I've said this before, one in particular I want y'all to pay attention to, we need your help on, and that is going to be meeting with, we're going to hear from Jared Moskowitz. He is the Director for Florida Department of Emergency Management, and we want to have him here, and we want to press upon, FEMA reimbursements back here to cities and to Volusia County. And also, Ms. Williams, I just wanted to say, I wanted to commend her, because she had mentioned the topic of resilience, though, and that is going to be one of our appointments up there, is going to be with Julia Neshiwat, who is the new state's director for Department of Resilience, though, so we're going to be meeting with her and talking more about this. And then we're also going to be discussing this at our Eggs and Issues breakfast on Thursday. We've got some really good speakers talking about, numerous different issues and such. But some of the things I wanted to point out again just quickly, we are going to be talking up there this session about district cost differential. That's a big impact on our Volusia school budget, though. We want to see vacation rental units regulated here, city and county level, because, again, this does impact the local community. We are going to be supporting House Bill 159 and Senate Bill 126, calling for internet sales tax, though. This is not a new tax, but it's something that should be collected already. And also affordable housing. We're going to be pushing big time for affordable housing, so look forward to having y'all up there.
Thank you, Jim. And we appreciate all you do, making sure we get FaceTime with all the decision makers, from the governor through the cabinet to the Senate and the House. You have the key decision makers, and then staff as well every time. And it's beneficial for those of us that can make it up there to learn how Tallahassee works, because that better enables us to serve our residents. So thank you very much.
And we are working on the governor.
Wonderful.
We're working still to be determined.
Good deal. Appreciate that. We'll move on to approval of minutes. The minutes have been sent to the commission for review, posted to the city's websites. Any additions, deletions, or corrections?
I move approval of the minutes.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, and we'll show those passing unanimously. And now we move to the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to pull anything from the consent agenda? Deputy Mayor Kent.
Item M.
Anyone else? Need a motion to approve absent item M.
Motion to approve absent item M.
Second.
Great. Colby, please call the vote.
Commissioner Selby?
Yes.
Commissioner Kent?
Yes.
Commissioner Persis?
Yes.
Commissioner Littleton?
Yes.
Mayor Partington?
Yes. And that brings us to 7M.
7M is a disposition item for runners, high timing, and race management sponsorship.
Deputy Mayor Kent.
Thank you. So, Commission, what we have before us is we're going to be sponsors again, or it's written in here, the word is a partnership with Don Stoner and Runners High. This will be the 7th year. And I just want to bring back a little bit of history about 7 years ago. Mr. Stoner came before this commission and wanted to do this marathon in Ormond Beach and wanted to have the casements at no charge and wanted to have the police department out there working and Public Works putting out orange cones everywhere, and it's a great thing for the city. And I said 7 years ago, it's a great thing for Don Stoner, his LLC for-profit company. Don't know that it's a great thing for the residents of Ormond Beach. In fact, I think 7 years ago I said, gosh, this sounds like someone backing up a dump truck to City Hall and just asking for us to throw money in it and then peeling out of here. So I lost that vote, and ever since then I voted no, but ever since then I've voted yes, because it never came to us that way again. Mr. Stoner and Runners High LLC were going to pay all fees. Huh. I like that. I think I'm kind of responsible for that, taxpayers of Ormond Beach. I like that. Someone's going to pay their way, because 7 years ago when I asked the question of city staff, who have we ever rented the casements, Rockefeller Gardens, out to free of charge? The answer was no one ever. What? We don't give it to anybody for free, but we're going to give it to somebody who's going to back their truck up here and load it up with cash and get out of here after a race. And we have to partner with him, or else you can't give everybody a free beer at the end of the race, from what I understand. He has to have city sponsorship, or else at the end, you may be shocked by looking at me, but I don't run marathons. Thank you. I knew I could count on you, Captain Roos. Mayor, I see your smile there. But we did do a 5K. Was it a 5K?
It was a 5K.
We did do a 5K. It was called the Donut Dash.
You finished well before me.
I did stop and get a donut along the way, and I won't say who else did, but, well, there were others that did as well. That's not my point. Listen, I'm great with you having a viable business, and you know what? This is America. Make money. This is an event that turns our city upside down for 4 to 5 hours on a Saturday morning. It says in here in our staff report, listen, this is great for our economy. Well, I have constituents in your zone, in the Granada Plaza, who call me every year and are kicking and screaming about, my business is down. This is a Saturday. My shop should be jammed up. What's going on here? And I pulled this item tonight because I feel like greed showed its ugly head again. And we're going to partner with Mr. Stoner and Runners High LLC for-profit company, and we're going to give him a reduced rate on renting out Rockefeller Gardens, because we're going to let anybody that wants to participate in the Mayor's Health and Fitness Challenge that wants to run this, they're going to get it free of charge. And I see where last year Mr. Stoner was able to give $14,000. That's a lot of jack. That's a lot of cash. Moolah. 14 grand to, let's see, Seabreeze, Boy Scouts, etc. Oh, that's right. The people that came and volunteered, didn't have to pay anybody, volunteered. So many things about this irk me, And if we're truly partners, Ms. Shanahan, I think Mr. Stoner should be writing a check to the city, not us giving him a break. But what kind of partnership are we going to have here? You're putting our residents out. What is that worth? Because we can quickly do the math on how many hundreds or thousands of participants times the entry fee to get a beer that in the past was donated, by the way. Maybe I'm mad at myself for not coming up with this idea. You go to cities, you have a race, you get everything basically donated, and you pull out with all the money. No way. I'm not okay with this. I'm not okay with us reducing the fee. If this wasn't reduced, you don't hear from Troy Kent tonight. I'm as quiet as a church mouse, and I would vote yes. But it showed its ugly head again. It's back before us. And I don't think it's right for the residents of Ormond Beach. And to this commission, I think we should maybe talk to staff about discontinuing this in the future, and maybe staff doing our own 5K and half marathon and marathon. Let us run our own right here. I mean, it's worked out so well for this gentleman. He's back 7 years in a row. Enough's enough. And that's why I'm a no on this unless we change this verbiage.
Anyone else want to weigh in?
Why can anybody speak to? I mean, I'm reading the report and it says the fees will be reduced in the amount equivalent to the entry fee of the participants in the Mayor's Health Challenge and Fitness Challenge 5K. So, can anybody speak to what the trade-off
Robert can
is?
come forward. I think the fee is $35 per person, and part of the Mayor's Health and Fitness Challenge is a 5K, and so not everybody participates in the race.
Correct, exactly. Robert Carolyn, Leisure Service Director. So just to sort of lighten the air a little bit, we basically were the instigators, I'm sorry to say, of this deal with the Mayor's Health and Fitness. And what we did is we looked at how many dollars it would cost us to actually run a 5K in conjunction with the Mayor's Health and Fitness. And technically you'd have to hire a company to come in and do the appropriate timing. They have to certify the course, so you have a 5K that's certifiable. And then you have all the staff time and everything to put it together, manage it, and run it. Looking at that, we felt like maybe the best thing for us to do is ask if Don would be willing to partner with us and allow us to attach the Mayor's Health and Fitness to his 5K. Part of our conversations back and forth was we would be willing to pay that, the cost of the Mayor's Health and Fitness participants to be able to run it. And along with that, they were going to have their own tent. He was actually going to have to put some considerable amount of time in to make it happen so that it's still a part of it, but it's separated. That's why you have that today in front of you. It's not but him going to me and saying, hey, we want money now to operate and manage the Tomoka Marathon. So I apologize for maybe not making that clear in the introduction memo. But Don's here if you would like to talk to him about, what's going on with the Tomoka Marathon and so forth. He's be more than happy to. And if you all choose not to partner with him, that's your choice. And I'm totally. And he'll still. I would really like for us to continue the Tomoka Marathon because it has been I get it. It may be an inconvenience for some residents, but there are a lot of residents that do participate in it as well. So. But it's totally up to you all.
So, Robert, in the Mayor's Health Challenge, there's no fee to be in that, right?
Yes, sir. Well, it depends. There is a fee to participate in the Mayor's Health and Fitness, but currently, if this agreement goes through, then there would be no fee to participate also in the Tomoka Marathon 5K.
And one of the things we do in the Mayor's Health Challenge is encourage people to run a 5K.
Yes, sir.
So this is a way to get a free 5K, not have to pay for the 5K and get a medal and get a shirt.
Exactly.
And a beer.
And a beer,
yes, sir. 2 beers, isn't it?
And yes, sir. I'm not sure.
Okay. It's early in the morning anyway. 1 beer is probably enough. Okay, well, I mean, Troy, does that help you at all? I mean, to me that's not an unreasonable
Yeah.
thing, and it's good for our residents.
Yeah.
Who want to be in that.
And I thank you for that, and I appreciate you asking that question. It just, again, knowing the history that we had with this 7 years ago, I'm shocked, baffled. City staff is, and this is how I view it differently than others. You're not pulling out of here with enough money in your truck. Let us give you a little bit more. Sorry, Robert, but that's what I'm seeing here. I totally get the reasoning behind it. I do. We want people that are well, all of our residents, but we want people that can. We want them to participate and run more. We want for that to happen. We want them to have better health, but this just rubs me the wrong way with a reduced rate. It just does. And if somebody like Mr. Stoner or anybody else that runs these events can get a course certified and get a timing system set up, I'm confident the city of Ormond Beach could do it and be in the positive of, if not hundreds, tens of thousands of dollars for our residents and provide a great experience for them. I mean, it's our city, So, yeah, I appreciate it. It does help. Thank you for your honest, being forthright about how this happened. That it wasn't Mr. Stoner asking for it. That the city said, "Hey, we'd like to do this." But yeah, I'm still a no on it because of that part. Thanks, Dwight.
Robert, how much is it to rent the casements for a day or half a day or whatever they do?
I'm probably better off telling you approximate income that Don Stoner for the Tomoka Marathon. It's really close to like $7,000 is what revenue we pull for this event with him utilizing the casements property and the Fortunato Park.
Okay, and then the gold sponsorship, how much is that? Is that the level we would have sponsored at?
I'm sorry, Mayor, I can't give you that answer. I don't have it right
Maybe
at the tip of
it
my
might
tongue.
be on the website. I don't know what it is, but if I recall correctly, there's 150 participants in the Mayor's Health and Fitness Challenge.
Currently, yes, sir.
But probably not even half of those people would run it. Maybe a third of those people would run it.
Would
or
run.
participate.
So say a half, just out of curiosity. That's $40 for a 5K. Is it? The website I'm looking at, Tomoka Marathon, half marathon and 5K says 40. Maybe were they giving us a discount? It says for March 18th, 2020 at 11:59. 5K, Tomoka 5K. That's about a $3,000 value. I don't know. I mean, this part of the Mayor's Health and Fitness Challenge, I got to tell you, nobody talked to me about. It just is in here. So, and then who pays for police and who pays for public works and who pays for all the cleanup and all that?
That is paid by Don Stoner's LLC.
$7,000.
I don't think it is, no, sir. Because we retrieve dollars rented from the casements. I don't know what the PD charges. That's a whole different. It's not under NI.
Yep. I mean, I'd be more comfortable not knowing all the details of the finances. Just, and we could not have a Mayor's 5K this year, and in the future have like a fun 5K that wouldn't have to be certified necessarily. It could just be timed by staff or volunteers or whoever. That could be a separate from this. And then I do still want to see this because a lot of people love having this event, but I just want them to pay the normal fees that people pay. I think that'd be probably the better way. So
Sure.
To accomplish that, we just would vote this down tonight, and then
I don't know, Randy, would it be possible for us to amend that as a partnership as prior? In other words, without the Mayor's Health and Fitness as part of it?
Well, you do not have a resolution before you, so this is really more of a low-level policy direction. I mean, it's the pleasure of the commission how you wish to treat it. If you want to work it through this evening, you can do that. If you'd rather just vote it down and revisit it, then you can certainly do that, and that may be your best option if you want to chew on a little bit.
and that's assuming. I mean, that's my opinion. I think I was with Deputy Mayor Kent several years ago, even though it may have passed. I thought I voted with you on that, and then depending on where everybody else is, I just, not knowing the finances of it and knowing the concerns, I would rather just see it run through the normal process as far as payment, and then have them still be able to do the event, but they're paying for everything. That's my opinion. Anybody else want to?
I agree.
Commissioner Persis, okay. So let's, unless anybody has anything else, Colby, if, do we need to take any action? No motion, and we can just let that pass. Okay. Good deal. Now would be an appropriate time if anyone wishes, thank you, Robert, for that. If anyone wishes to comment on the consent agenda, and if not, we will move to closing remarks, suggestions, and requests. And we will start with City Manager Shanahan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to update the commission that I met with the Flagler County Manager, Jerry Cameron, to further discuss the North US 1 property that they wanted to have water and sewer to. As you know, that company that was going to do furniture assembly decided not to come, but we understand from Flagler County that Flagler County would still wish for the city to provide utility services to that. So we told them that they need to provide us with a request from Flagler County, and that we would be happy to bring that back to you for consideration. So I just wanted to update you about that. Also wanted to update you about the Volusia County Growth Management Commission is going to be holding a public hearing on February 26th at 7 p.m. at the Daytona Beach City Commission chambers, and that's to talk about the comp plan amendment for the new project that Daytona Beach is proposing. I think it's called Avalon Park. The real issue here is that their comp plan isn't consistent with their request, and so they need to make those two things consistent. So we're hoping that they'll work things out. I believe both the city and Volusia County requested the hearing, so we'll see what happens then, but we're hopeful to maybe work things out prior to that point in time. I also wanted to let you know that Sean Finley and I met with Miriam Giabi, who's helping us with transportation issues. We're still moving ahead with the North US 1 I-95 interchange. We also talked about the adaptive signal control project. They did something similar in Daytona Beach for ISB. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page here. They're currently finalizing the process for design for Granada between A1A and Timber Creek Boulevard. It's funded through FDOT for design and construction 2019-2020, and it's about $1.5 million. We've worked with FDOT to make fiber optic upgrades currently on that corridor, and we have recently received 60% design drawings, and we're reviewing those. As you know, the adaptive signalization project continually distributes the green time equitably for all traffic lights. I think Daytona Beach was a little bit disappointed with how they expected a greater change in the traffic flow, and if you're expecting to leave Beach Street and get to the Walmart and hitting no lights, that's not what the adaptive signalization does. I know, shocking, right? What it will do is reduce your time maybe by 2 to 3 minutes during the busiest times, and during peak times when you have bike traffic or speedway traffic, you're going to see maybe a maximum improvement of 20%. But before we get all the way down that road, I want to just make sure we're managing our expectations about what that's going to do. So, I just kind of wanted to. There are traffic sensors out there that collect the data, and they evaluate and they retime the signals, and there's people that look at that. As I said, it could be 2 to 3 minutes, which is about 10% during non-peak hours. So I just want to let you know where we're at with that. Do you have any questions about that? Yes, sir.
Well, first of all, will Ed Kelly have to spend less time at a red light when there's nobody coming towards him?
No, we're going to make him spend more time at a red light.
All right. Well, that was a little bit facetious, but seriously, I mean, is one of the things that these signals do is reduce that time where you're sitting at a red light where there is no cross traffic, or you're at a left arrow and there is no oncoming traffic, and I mean,
yes,
is that what it does? It senses that there's nobody there, so at least while the
should
whole
limit
road might not be clear, I might have a green light, not have a green light all the way out to Walmart. At least I don't have to wait at Clyde Morris, for 3 minutes when nobody's crossing.
Well, and they had a problem if you were at the corner of Williamson and ISB and you were going to go southbound onto Williamson and make that turn. I don't know what gate that is to go to the side
40,
of the Speedway.
42.
So they had a problem with that light, and I personally sat at that light trying to get a turn, and it didn't recognize that there wasn't any oncoming traffic. So I think they've had some frustrations with that. But I think the system continuously evolves, and so we're feeling confident about that. But yes, it's exactly intended to eliminate that when you're waiting to turn out of the trails and nothing's coming and the light's still red. So.
And this is a little bit aside, but have we made any progress with DOT on right turn only lanes for northbound, southbound, Nova Road at Granada?
Sean can probably speak to that. I know we continue to talk to them about that, but they've also had a change in their leadership at District 5. Mike Shannon has left, and so that kind of slows the whole process.
As a follow-up to our meeting last week with Miriam and I are going out to meet with DOT tomorrow as well, and that's one of the topics we're going to talk about is that whole Nova Road corridor, starting with the pedestrian safety there at the trails, working its way all the way down towards Nova Road. So that's one of the things it's on our list of things to talk about. And I think you made a good observation on the adaptive signalization. We're focusing on that corridor of Granada, but we're also taking into effect those side streets and reduction of that 5 or 10 extra seconds that you may be sitting there while it seems like there's no cars coming at you. That's where people are frustrated with sitting at a traffic signal. It's not when traffic is whizzing past you. It's when you're sitting there at a red light and nobody's coming, and that's what the big key is, and that's how you have the reduction of the 10 or 12%. So, thank you.
Any more questions about that? So we're proceeding with that. Also, I wanted to let you know on February 21st, that is traditionally when we present the audit to you. I know Commissioner Selby said he would be out of town that day. The auditors do present the report to you individually prior to that date. So our plan is to keep that on that date. We have to have the audit done, I think, within 6 months of the close of the fiscal year in order to receive the government
18th.
Financial officers.
You said 21st, but you meant the 18th, correct?
Oh, I guess I did. I had the
February.
wrong calendar, apparently. So whatever our next meeting date is.
I wouldn't have known, but somebody gave us a great calendar right before the meeting.
I had a great calendar, but I guess it had the wrong date on it, or I just misread it. So I just wanted to be sure that everybody was aware of that. And that's all I have. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions for the city manager? Thank you, Joyce. And we move to Assistant City Manager Claire Whitley.
Thank you. In December, I attended the Florida Civic Advance Summit, and the Florida Civic Advance organization is focused on improving civic life and increasing citizen involvement. It's a collaborative organization of local and state and regional entities. At the summit, the City of Ormond Beach was presented with an award, a co-winner for the 2019 Civic Excellent Award for Citizen Engagement with Local Government, and this is for the OB Life Initiative, so I wanted to share that with you. It was part of that was a presentation. It was incredibly well received. Everybody was just very complimentary of the efforts that you all in the city made in that endeavor. And on the heels of the OB Life, as part of that, I know part of your direction and support was for the city to increase its communication in lots of different areas. And as a result of that, you might have noticed that over the holiday break, the city social media has really increased, and our Facebook users that like or follow the page are now at 5,000, and we were at a couple hundred prior to having that initiative in place. So we're really starting to see the effect of that.
Very
Thank
nice.
you to our PIO.
Yep.
That's it. Good night.
Thank you, Claire. Yep, I'm glad you could attend that and receive that award, considering all your hard work with Joyce's supervision. I know you put a lot into the OB Life initiative, along with all the department heads that were basically following the commission's direction to make that happen, which is wonderful. So thank you for that. Randy Hayes, City Attorney.
No, sir, nothing this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. And tonight we start with Commissioner Littleton.
Thank you, Mayor. I hope everyone had a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. A little over a month ago, I attended the American City-County Exchange, thanks to your good graces, and was glad I did. I learned a lot, learned what other cities throughout the nation are going through, heard some disaster stories of how cities and are being run and the such that would make us cringe here in Ormond Beach. And overall, whatever you think we have here, we're doing all right. We're doing much better than most people.
A lot of cities, yeah.
And cities are, especially smaller cities, are dealing with the same stuff as us, basically growth and how to manage it and that type of thing. And there were even some cities there that are complaining because they have no growth and all their people are leaving, all their jobs are leaving. So that was interesting. And I thank you for that. And next week I'll be going to Volusia Days, where we'll be discussing things like preemption and some of the issues that Mr. Cameron talked about. And with that, I'll say good night.
Thank you, Commissioner Littleton and Commissioner Selby.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things. The city manager mentioned it earlier. I'll actually be in Israel with my wife February 9th to the 20th, so I will miss the second meeting in February. I wanted to give you a brief update on First Step Shelter. Many of you probably saw the story in today's paper, but as of Friday, we had 11 women and 9 men in the shelter. The Catholic Charities has intentionally slowly ramped up 10 people per week is the maximum that they will allow in the shelter until we get to 40. And then over time we're going to increase it to the capacity of the shelter. But the big issue right now is, the city of Daytona Beach built and owns the building, and then they lease it for $1 to the board that I serve on, representing you all, and we operate the facility. We hired Catholic Charities to actually physically operate it, so while the board was supposed to be involved in the design and the construction of the shelter, we were not. We were not in any material way involved in designing or building it. And so the lack of this safe zone is a direct result of that. The fact that there is no safe zone at the facility is a direct result of them not including us and basically just saying, here it is, here are the keys, have it. And then as recently as, within the last couple of weeks, we were told that the city would be building the safe zone. And they were in the process of, designing it and estimating the cost. So, and so when it became apparent that there might be a problem with having the safe zone built, and by the way, let me just back up. The purpose of the safe zone is to make the facility Pottinger compliant. And what that means to me, and I'm not sure that I'm necessarily the legal expert on this, but what that means to me is that if a homeless person is engaged in what used to be known as loitering, or basically in a public space, and refuses to move on. So somebody's sleeping on a park bench, a police officer taps them on the shoulder and says, hey buddy, you got to move on. And they refuse to do that. Well, then the officer can arrest them. Okay? And as they're arresting and processing them, they can say, you know, look, I don't have to take you to the jail. I can take you to First Step Shelter. That's an option. You have the option of going there. Would you rather go there? If you go there, you know, it will put you in the safe zone. Okay? So when it became apparent that the safe zone might not be built by the city of Daytona Beach, I immediately called city manager and I said, hey, because I hope you all remember that our city attorney was incredibly sharp on this, and our $82,000 that we are contributing to the operation of that did not start, or our obligation to do that didn't commence until the center was open, shelter was open, number one, and it's in arrears, paid quarterly, okay? So I told the city manager, I said, look, until we get this worked out, until we know for sure that either, you know, a safe zone will get built, or our citizens, our city doesn't require them to have one, which is kind of our policy decision, that we're okay with supporting it even without a safe zone, okay? Until that happens, I don't think we should give them any money. So we haven't. So I just want to make you aware of that, okay? Because that'll be in the paper soon, I'm sure. Because some of the other cities have been contributing. Daytona is in their third or fourth year of contributing, $400,000, okay? I think Holly Hill has contributed a couple of years' worth of, so other cities are, you know, years into it. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that to your attention. That's kind of my position, and unless you all tell me, you know, either, you know, ease up, you don't have to be so hardcore or not. But my position is, you may have seen Port Orange's comments in there that if there is no safe zone, we're out of here. I'm not quite that abrupt, but I do believe that was promised to us, Pottinger compliancy, and I don't see how they can be Pottinger compliant without a safe zone. And I say they because the city of Daytona Beach is built, you know, owns the facility and built it. Okay, next point is Avalon Park, Daytona. Parcel F, you know, the northern, all that land north of Margaritaville that borders Route 40, you know, on the south side of 40 across from Hunter's Ridge and Breakaway Trails. I strongly believe that we need to have a workshop on that because there are a lot of implications. There are a lot of things I don't even understand. I mean, I brought two of the documents. I got the legal documents on the resolution of the water service thing. That's 80 pages. We all got in our last agenda package last meeting, the West Ormond, Southwest Ormond utility service master plan, whatever. That's almost 100 pages. There's a lot going on there, and I've been on this commission for 3 years, and I don't recall ever having a really substantive discussion about the development of that land. And based on that article that was in the paper, this Avalon Park developer sounds incredibly well-heeled. Sounds like he's going to move forward quickly, you know, and what's going to happen, in my opinion, is, I don't know this, but if I was developing that land, I would front it on 40, and I'd start at the north and move south, right? And so all of the impacts are going to come on Ormond Beach. And when it's instead of a 2-minute delay, when it's a 4-cycle delay, hopefully it'll never be that, on Granada, we're the ones who are all going to get blamed for that, even though we had nothing to do with it. These weren't houses we approved. These aren't shopping centers we approved. They're nothing. They're all in Daytona. So I just think we need to be if I'm going to get blamed for something, I sure want to know what it is in advance, right? I sure want to know as much as and I don't know very much about it. I don't know what our commitments are. I don't, you know, and I got a lot of information, but I need help in digesting all of it and understanding it and seeing how, you know, because maybe we move forward in a different direction. I don't know, but maybe we do. I'm just saying that. So that's my recommendation, is that we have a workshop, and I don't know if we can do it in an hour and a half. It might take more time than that. I don't know. And then the final thing I want to bring up is this is something that I learned from serving on the First Step Shelter Board. One of the things that we have on our agenda of First Step Shelter is an approval. It's like the third or fourth item, approval of the agenda. And for a bunch of meetings, I'm like, well, why are we approving the agenda? We never approve our agenda at our city commission. We don't approve the agenda. The agenda is the agenda, right? So, but what approving the agenda does is gives us the opportunity to add something to the agenda, each of us, like if we want to add something. So we have the opportunity to say, under the approval of one of the items on the agenda, we have the opportunity to add something. Now, my understanding, again, I'm not an attorney, we couldn't spend any money, because that would have to be properly advertised. So it would, I guess, basically be more like a discussion type item, or something that we could take action on, something that didn't cost anything, I guess. But that would involve us amending our procedures, our rules of procedure, okay? Because we have rules of procedure now on what the agenda, the order of business, and what is the order of business, and we do not have an approval of the agenda. And so I guess before I got off of Avalon, I should have asked the mayor to take a vote on whether or not we want a workshop on, or maybe you can do it at the end because I'm done now. So those are my two recommendations. One is that we consider modifying our rules of procedure to include an approval of the agenda. And the other one is that we have a workshop on Avalon Park, Daytona.
Thank you, Commissioner. Deputy Mayor Kent.
Thank you. So I was just going to say Happy New Year and have one other comment, but now that Commissioner Selby went before me, I've got multiple things I have to talk about. I'll start with the adding items to an agenda. Very interesting. I like how you bring new things to us. I don't know if it's needed for us, and I'll tell you why. In the past, we used to ask to just have things at the end of the meeting. Ms. Shanahan, could you put a discussion item on the next agenda, which we can still do that. But we kind of even tweaked that because I'm going to be asking for something to be on the discussion item. But we even tweaked that to the point to where if no one else, none of the other electeds wanted to talk about that, it was sort of like a moot point. Like you're going to bring something up that no one else is interested in. So at the end of our meetings is when we do that, and we've done it in the past for, could you put it on the next agenda? Could you put it on in the next 2 months? And if someone is in agreement and wants to talk about it, then we go ahead and we do that. So I think we have that covered. But I like the idea. As far as, in fact, at this point, let me just tell you, the one thing I was going to say besides Happy New Year was, if anybody else on the commission is interested, because I love a marathon for our city. I want you to get that. I love a half marathon for our city. I love a 5K for our city and our residents. But if anybody else is interested in the city actually putting it on and providing a great, wholesome event for our residents and visitors and us keeping the money, talk to Ms. Shanahan and tell her you too would like to have it as a discussion item, because I'd like to have it as a discussion item. And, sooner rather than later, but that's just me. As far as the Avalon Park discussion, Commissioner Selby, again, I'm going to say thank you for bringing that up. The mayor and I can take a lot of credit and a lot of blame for the past 16 years. But that becoming Daytona Beach, we cannot take credit or blame for that. That happened right before we were elected to this commission by a prior commission. It was a very close vote. And unfortunately, the commission at that time allowed that land to go to Daytona Beach because they would not, if memory serves me right, negotiate with the landowner at the time. And what a shame, because when you pull out of breakaway trails, you're looking at Daytona Beach. And you're right. We're going to get all of the headaches and all of the problems and none of the positives. So I'm in total agreement with Commissioner Selby that I too think we need to have a workshop, not just a discussion item, but a workshop to bring everybody up to speed. It's been quite some time since we've talked about it, and that, we need hopefully some options, Mr. City Attorney, some options. The next thing I want to talk about is the homeless shelter that you mentioned, Commissioner Selby. And I want to start by saying I don't like what you did about calling the city manager and asking her about withholding the money. I love it. I love it. You're a tough negotiator. You've been in business a long time. And the other two people that I know that are tough negotiators are Randy Hayes and Joyce Shanahan. You get Joyce into a corner, she's tough. Same with Randy. And he always has the best interest of this city in his viewfinder, looking out of his glasses. And he is wise, wise, wise. And he made sure that the contract was stated the way that it was to protect our citizens. And he's always worried about our citizens and this commission. And Randy Hayes, I publicly praise you tonight yet again. Thank you. Because Commissioner Selby hit the nail on the head. It was your wisdom to make sure that we weren't dispersing money when, and shocker, you had no say-so in the design or how this was going to look, but yet you're on the board. And I only tell you this because misery tends to love, have company and love it. But I served for a year on the Beachside Redevelopment Committee at the pleasure of this commission and for the county council. And it truly was a Beachside Redevelopment Committee for Daytona Beach. And if somebody can tell me one thing out of the pages of recommendations that we gave them that they did, I would love to see it. It's bothersome when you work hard and you really put sweat and effort into something and you're trying to help and they won't listen. But I guess they don't have to. So thank you, Commissioner Selby, for your leadership on that board. I think you've been extremely gracious when I've read your comments. The News Journal reporter called and left a message on my phone today and said she wanted to comment because she couldn't get a hold of you. I purposely did not call her back because that's you. She needed to wait and get a hold of you and hear what you had to say about it. But I love how you have held people accountable about what the expectation is supposed to be. And I think you've represented Ormond Beach and our residents in an extremely positive manner. So for that, I say thank you. And last but not least, I'm going to say the one thing I wanted to say tonight, which was Happy New Year.
Thank you, Commissioner. And Commissioner Persis.
Good evening, everyone. I wanted to say Happy New Year as well. I hope everybody had a lot of great times. I just want to first thank Leisure Services and staff for making the city of Ormond Beach look so beautiful during the holidays. Every time I drove up and down Granada, it just made me so happy, to see the Christmas tree at the casements, the Christmas tree here, the parade, just seeing all just the beautiful decorations. It was just an uplifting time of year, and I know that was due to a lot of hard work from a lot of people in the city. So, thank you again for that. I also want to, as far as the request, I'm definitely in favor of a workshop for that development, for no doubt, because I need to be, a little bit more informed than I am, so I definitely am in favor of that as well. I would like to ask the commission, I am going to be out of town in May, and I would like to see if we could possibly move the meeting from May 19th to the 26th or the 27th of May, and see if anyone, if that would be okay with the rest of the commission.
For me personally, May 26th is fine. Yeah. I thought you were going to try to move the Cinco de Mayo one, but
No. I wouldn't do that to you, Deputy Mayor Kent.
No, I'd be okay if we moved that.
I'm fine with that.
I'm okay with it.
Joyce, you can make that.
Okay, thank you.
Adjustment.
Thank you all very much. My husband and I are going to go on a nice trip that we've planned for a while. We're going to go to Alaska, so it'll be a kind of a special trip for us. So thank you all for that. But other than that, that's all I have tonight. So have a great evening.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I'll start with the Christmas parade. I think it was one of the best ever. Huge crowds turned out, and shutting down the other side of the street was a stroke of genius that I think, hearing from the residents, they loved it. And it was safer for everybody. Hopefully, police had a better job, easier job of controlling things. But rave reviews on the parade, and I think Brian left, which I hated to see because I wanted him to hear that. But they'll be back maybe for the awards next meeting. This week, starting tomorrow, is the Women's South Atlantic Amateur Golf Championship at Oceanside Country Club. It's called the Sally, and they've had it for years there. It's almost 100 years old, and it boasts an alumni list with many, many LPGA players. But this year, the field is the strongest ever. They moved it up a week to make it easier for some of the other colleges to get their athletes in there. The good news is it's at the Oceanside Country Club. There is no admission fee. Tickets are not required, so you are welcome to go and watch and spend the day enjoying these professional golfers, young, well, amateurs, but soon to be professionals, and see some great golf out there. So I hope you can make it out there. That's Wednesday through Saturday. They'll be out there. And tomorrow at 4:20 at the Ormond Garage, they're having their chamber ribbon cutting. They've been open for a few months now, but they're going to have a great grand opening, and that will involve apparently free beer. So another reason to stop by if you're interested in that. Let's see, Pottinger compliance, Commissioner Selby. I'm hoping and honestly confident that you're going to solve that tomorrow, working with your co-committee members. If not, we're going to take it up at the elected roundtable meeting of the mayors the Monday after that, and then if not, we can make a final decision at our next January meeting.
Yeah, we haven't paid anything yet, so
there's not a rush at this point.
It's usually due at the end of the quarter. We pay on a quarterly basis. We've just got our first invoice, so we haven't paid anything yet.
Understood. Thank you, Joyce. And as far as Avalon Park and Daytona Beach property, I am not so quick to rush into a workshop, and the reason why is a couple things. One, they haven't, I guess, come out of their compliance period, so I don't know, due diligence, compliance, whatever you want to call it. I don't know that they're going to buy that property. It's curious to me that Margaritaville made the decision that it's not economically feasible to move forward, and then the next potential purchaser made the decision that it's not necessarily a good idea to move forward for a number of reasons. But yet somehow this developer has decided that it is. And I've seen too many music men come to town and then seen the projects go away after a lot of fanfare, that I don't want to waste 5 hours of my life in a workshop only to have the deal never happen. And so I'm against it from that perspective. Also, in reading the tea leaves with this growth management issue and with Daytona Beach, I don't want our workshop to become a window into our litigation strategy for dealing with Daytona Beach in the future. And I have a strong fear that that is something that could happen. I'd rather have a shade meeting if that's going to be the situation in the future. And so I think at some point a workshop may be appropriate, but I would just ask your patience, maybe waiting 2 or 3 months till we have all those pieces in place to make that a smarter move and a better move for the city of Ormond Beach at the time. And then as far as approving the agenda, I agree with Deputy Mayor Kent. I think if there's 3 people that agree to talk about something, then we can add that as a discussion item, and that's probably the best way to move forward with that. And I'm all for a Ormond Beach fun run or an Ormond Beach marathon or 5K. We could even use the money to support Ormond Beach school-related functions. If you raise, $30,000 or $40,000, and there are groups that could use a $5,000 grant to go to London or whatever, repair instruments or whatever the situation is, something like that. So I think that's something that could be really exciting for the future. And with that, I'll say Happy New Year to everyone as well. 2020 is going to be great.
Excuse me,
Commissioner Selby.
Just relative to the workshop for Avalon Park, we do have 3 that want to do that. Troy, Susan and me.
And I'm okay to wait as well after hearing the mayor's comments on that. And also, Mr. Hayes, you haven't weighed in yet about what the mayor just mentioned as far as a shade meeting, not showing our cards. Our mayor's an attorney. It's what he does day in and day out. And I yield to him on stuff like that.
Yeah. These are obviously complicated issues with a very storied history that goes back 2 decades easily, and there are connecting pieces to other projects. We're trying to figure out how to get you the best information that we can, because over time, as you know, projects will live on in infamy sometimes, but people go, commissioners come and go, staff members come and go, and then sometimes the new people that come in, they don't know the history behind the platform to deal with the issue that we're looking at in a present day format. So there's a lot to that issue. We don't have any current active disputes with our neighbor to the south. Obviously, we have an agreement, multiple agreements with them. We don't have any control over the development of that property in Daytona Beach. Through the settlement agreement from the prior litigation, we are the provider of bulk water to Daytona Beach. That development is going to occur one way or the other. We provide the water, but not at our cost, at their cost. But there are some issues that we need to work in cooperation with Daytona Beach and vice versa, and that is understanding the densities and the intensities and all of those, kind of getting down into the weeds and the details now, which you probably really don't want to do at this hour. But we'll try to figure out the best format to help you understand the complexities in the nature of those issues. But it's something that we have been working on internally, and to some extent with our meeting with our counterparts in Daytona Beach for the past 2-3 years or so, and still are. And that's not the only issue. I mean, we have multiple others. Is 2020 is going to be as fascinating as 2019 was? I can promise you that. But hopefully in a good way. And our goal is to get you the best information that we can so that you can make informed decisions and give us direction to implement your decisions. And that's our goal. Our goal is to make sure that everything we do is for the betterment of the community. That's what we're all here for. So we'll do our best to do that.
Great. Thank you, Randy. Anyone else? Commissioner or City Manager Shanahan.
So we'll have a hold on the workshop. We'll be talking to you about that continually. So the staff will look for 5K options, fun runs maybe. We're a hold on the homeless shelter money until we know what's going on there. And we're a yes to moving the meeting to the 26th. And I guess we're a no to amending the rules of the procedure because we already have a methodology by which to accomplish it.
We didn't hear from everybody. I don't know. Okay. I didn't hear from Rob. And I only heard 2 yes on the marathon, but
okay.
I mean on the 5K.
All right,
well, yeah, and I thought it was 5K, half marathon, marathon we were going to look into.
But I only heard two comment on that. I didn't comment.
I'm in favor of it.
Perfect. There's 3.
There's 3. Okay, got that. And what else did you?
What's the other ones like?
The rules of procedure.
Yeah, I'm happy with how it is. I like having to use right here in the Memphis.
Great.
All right, thank you very much for that. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Joyce. And with that, we're adjourned.